Alex, you always have to answer questions about canceled fights, scratch fights, and look who's here to save the day, right? I mean, is there a little fun in that for you?
Nah, man, I just laugh about it, It's not – it is what it is. I just happy to be here.
Nice. How did this one come about for you? I mean, obviously you fought just 8 weeks ago, so how did your name get in the mix, and how did this all come together for you?
So I had put my name in for another fight. I think for the April 6th card, they were looking for somebody, and I was like, hey, I can make this weight, and didn't get back to me. So then when Manal got hurt, they called me, and I said, yeah, my nutritionist was like, I was like, wait, let me call my nutritionist first, and then she's like, okay, yeah, we can do it. So then yeah, we got it done, easy.
Very nice. So you were trying to fight even sooner than this. Was it just trying to stay busy, or was it like a little bitter after the last one, or why did you want to get back so fast?
I mean, a little bit of both. I mean, I tell people all the time I'm a sore loser, so I fucking hate losing. So I'm trying to get back in there, and yeah, I stay in shape. I'm at the gym all the time, and I was in camp. I was working with Cody and Cynthia, so I was training with them. I was doing everything, so I'm always in good shape. So yeah, I was just happy to try to get back in there as soon as possible. And then they offered me that June 15th fight. I said, yeah. But I was like, in my head, I'm just going to stay ready in case something happens. And, this opportunity came up.
Nice. So are you still, in on June 15th? Or?
We'll see how this fight goes. You know what I mean? See injury. But, yeah, I'll be down. The more active I am, the better. I like to be active. Obviously, when I first got in the UFC, I think I fought 5 times under Zuffa. Was very active, So that's my goal, to get back to that and keep going.
Nice. April 6th, was that going to be a 35 fight?
No.
Higher than that?
No. I asked to fight at. They asked for 25. I was like, oh, I can make 130 because it was I think it was 5 days out or something like that. And I was like, I threw my name in there. It wasn't like they asked me. I was like, hey, I'm down. I was like, I can make 130, and they never got back to me. So I was like, okay.
Was the crew at Acai Republic like, bro, we just got you back. What are you doing leaving again?
No, they understand. They hold it down for me because, like I said, without them, that shop definitely wouldn't be running with me being there. They do a good job of keeping me on my toes and keeping me accountable for everything. So they do an awesome job.
That's awesome, man. All right, we'll talk about Matheus as an opponent, kind of, what this fight presents for you as far as challenges.
Matheus, he's a super nice guy. I've met him a few times, actually. He's actually been over at my house. Because one of my roommates used to train with them and stuff like that. So he's been at my house before and stuff like that. Him and his wife, they're super nice people. It's just business. I fought a couple friends in the game before, So for me, it's just business. We're not the best of friends, we're acquaintances, but he's a good guy. I think he's a hard fight for anybody. There's 2 different Nicolaus you get. You get the one that's kind of a little passive. You get the one that's aggressive, but they're both good. Very, good record. Good jiu-jitsu, comes from a great camp. It's a tough fight, but I feel like I'm ready.
You said you're not best of friends, but you are acquaintances. When you have matchups like that, do you reach out to the guy to just be like, hey, man, just let you know it's nothing personal, or do you just?
Nah, I think he understands it. I think everybody in this spot knows that it's about business. You know what I mean? This is how we feed our family. This is how we make our money. So you know what I mean? Like I say, he's a great guy. Him and his wife are great people. And I had nothing but respect for him in that camp as well. And like I said, I'm excited to show what I can do.
Nice. Flyweight division is kind of crazy right now, right? You know what I mean? With everything that's going on. So, I know you've had a couple setbacks and been out for a while, but, are you looking at this as a big fight? Because it's 2 key ranked opponents, in a main event. This could have some real impact in the division.
I feel every fight's important, right? The next fight's always important. The one after this would be important. I feel like in this division, any fight can get you a title shot, So, who knows? Maybe I'll go out there, have a great performance. Maybe I have to fight 1 or 2 more times, maybe one more time to get back in that title hunt. But like I said, I just keep fighting until they tell me what's next, you know what I mean? So I'm not really too worried about it. But like I said, this division, anything can happen.
You said, hey, man, maybe I can go in June, right? So ideally, like you said, I know you're trying to stay busy. How many times would you fight this year?
The more the merrier. You know what I mean? As long as I'm healthy, I'm good to go. I think the biggest thing for me is just being having to make some changes, obviously, in my training. I'm not as young as I used to be, so just making some training, putting recovery a little bit more ahead of certain things, So I think that's what kind of this last couple of layoffs and the fight cancellations kind of brought to me was like, hey, I got to focus more. It's not always about the grinding is sometimes about the recovery stuff. So I've been doing a really good job with that, especially with the help with the UFC PI. I bought a house out here, so I'm out here probably once a month. Just getting fixed up, making sure no major injuries, staying on top of everything. So I think that's helped me a lot.
Very nice. Last thing for me, you said it. There's kind of two versions of Matheus as an opponent. So I don't know if you're able to instill your will. Like, what kind of fight do you think we see? I mean, do you want to go out and get something dominant like you've had, or is this are you expecting a grind? Like, what kind of fight do we see?
I'm expecting a grind. I mean, he's tough. I mean, like I said, Perez and these guys have been there for a long time. I'm pretty sure they have a great game plan. They come from a great camp. So I'm expecting them to be tough. I'm expecting a 25-minute war. You know what I mean? He's a tough guy. He has knockout power. I've seen him drop people. You know what I mean? I've seen him, like, people don't understand. Like, I've watched him since, man, I think he fought Louis Samoka back in, I wasn't even in the UFC yet, I think, or maybe getting in there. So I've watched this guy fight a lot, and I've seen what he can do. I've seen his best versions of him, of this guy. You know what I mean? I think he lost to Brandon Royval, and, man, I think I forget who else he lost to, but I mean, I think he's like 19-3, something like that. So he's a tough guy. So I'm expecting the best version of himself.
Old school name, by the way, Dustin Ortiz.
Dustin Ortiz. That's what I thought. I couldn't remember if it was him or not. But yeah, some old school guys. He's been in there with some of the best guys in the world from, the first generation of 25ers to even now. So like I said, I'm expecting him to come out the best he can come out, and I think he's gonna be more aggressive, especially because I took this fight on short notice. So I think he's going to be very aggressive, and, you know what I mean, I welcome that kind of fight.
Alex, was it kind of bittersweet to, when Manel pulled out, obviously he talked a lot of shit when you guys were scheduled to fight, and then he pulled out, and then you replaced him. So was it kind of bittersweet?
Nah, man, I don't pay attention to any of that. Like, I know he talked a lot of smack. Everybody's different. Everybody in the sport. I know guys that have to hate your opponent to fight. You know what I mean? Be like, I fucking gotta hate this guy. Like, yeah, I can care less. Like, whatever he says online, whatever he says on social media, to me, anybody, just not Manel, but anybody, it doesn't really bother me, because as long as you respect me when we're face to face, it's cool. If you don't like me and disrespect me in my face, I probably won't even do anything, right? If you come at me and start trying to fight me, that's different, right? But even if you don't like me, like, as long as I'm cordial with people. Like, I'm not the best friends with people, but I'm pretty cordial. It's pretty hard to get me mad, get me ticked off. So wherever people say, people have asked me that question, like, how does it feel? I'm like, oh, man, it sucks. Hopefully Manel heals up, man. He's a good addition he's a good person in the division. And I've talked to him outside. He's a good person. That's the way he wants to make money, sell the fights. That's great. That's on him, I'm not going to put another man down for what he's doing to, provide for his family. It's not the way I am. I'm quiet. Really don't talk too much smack. I do my own thing, and some people have to do other things to motivate themselves. That's great. I mean, I'm not too worried about what people say, so it doesn't really affect me.
Is it nice to have the flyweights headlining a card? It's kind of a rare instance.
Yeah, man. I feel like the flyweights don't get enough credit, I feel like everybody in America feels bigger is better, But once those guys get past the big guys get past the first round, man, it ain't too much more in there, At least it's flyweights. We can go at least 15 to 25 minutes, and it's gonna be a fast-paced fight.
And I guess just what were your thoughts when Steve Erceg got the title shot?
So people have asked me that too, because obviously, if you look at resumes, Matheus has a tougher resume, I believe. He's fought more in the UFC, but he's fought Tim Elliott, fought Demetrius, and then I fought Pantoja. I fought Davidson, and then I've also fought Pantoja, so he beat me. But in this sport, you're just as good as your last performance, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what you did. Like I said, Steve went out there and did his job. He fought a ranked guy right out the back, beat him, then finishes Alessandro, and then comes in and finishes Matt Chanel, right? That's very impressive. Matheus went in there, and I'm coming off the couch after a year layoff, and it was a hard fought. I thought I won the fight. Obviously, the judges didn't see it that way, and I can't disagree with them. You know what I mean? But it wasn't his best performance. So this is also a business, so I understand. Like, hey, this guy's going in there putting people to sleep. Well, let's give him a shot. Why not? It's a business, but it's also fighting. But I think you're as good as your last performance, and he went out there and looked great.
So when it's all said and done, who wins next weekend?
Man, I give it to Pantoja with the experience, but Steve, he's tough, man. He has very crisp boxing. I was watching this with Chanel. He pulled that hook right out the back, and Pantoja has been shown to get hurt. And Steve, I seen him during fight week, and he's a big dude. I think I'm big for the division. He's tall. Nathan has very good boxing. It's hard to say how he is in the ground and stuff because no one's taken him there yet. Like I haven't done any study on him, so I don't know if he's ever been taken down or anything. But man, he was looking like a stud. And but I got to go with Pantoja with experience, and he has a great camp at American Top Team. So I got to go with that. I know they're gonna game plan well. I know Pantoja's been wanting to fight in Brazil. He asked for the fight, so he's training his ass off. He's coming, guns blazing. So I give it to him. But I'm not saying Steve can't win.
Cool. Thanks, man.
You've been doing this since professionally since 2011. It looks. When you talked a little bit about how your training has changed, whether it be for recovery in between fights, how much has that changed from when you started in the game, and how much has it changed now? And is that because of experience or accommodating to how the body's differently now than when you got into the game?
A little bit of both. When I first started, so I started training in 2010 when I just graduated high school. The first time I threw a punch, and we had a team out there. Shout out to my team, Team Ochoa. That's the guys that got me started with Mito Morales. And every day, this is where we would go in the gym. We'd live roll, we'll spar, and we'll hit pads. That was an everyday thing. And it wasn't like we're like the smartest guys. We didn't knee or elbow each other, but fuck, I'm going with guys. I was the smallest guy. I was competing in college, so I was wrestling at 125s, but I'm sparring with guys that fought at 145s, 170s. There was no such thing as weight classes, And from that to moving to Team Oyama, just seeing how they trained under Colin Oyama, the drilling, the bag work and stuff. We didn't do that when I was at my first team, right? Not because of anything, just because, we were just young in the sport, And then going out there, learning how to drill and stuff like that. So I had to adjust training to that. And then being young, still being able to train 3-4 times a day and be like, oh, I'm good, And then from that to now, it's a little bit different. Like, okay, I can train twice today. Tomorrow I can train 3, but then I got to do recovery here and there. So just from experience and just the game has changed so much from 2010 to now. Like it's growing so fast. So training methods are training all the time, and I think that just kind of helped me do everything as well.
And I think a lot of times when people think of a fighter in camp and they think of training, they're thinking they're always working technique, technique. How important is strength and conditioning, and how much is that in the I guess if a percentage of what your fight camp is based around strength and conditioning?
So what I feel like it makes me a little different, my training doesn't change while I'm in or out of camp. The only thing that changes is sparring. Like I'm not going to spar. Like unless someone has a fight like Cody, Ricky, Cheeto, some of those guys, or even my teammates from, on the lower level guys, right? Some of the amateur guys, they got fights that need a body to train. Like I'll go in there and spar with them. But if no one has a fight coming up, I don't spar, but I'm still in there wrestling. I'm still there doing jiu-jitsu. I'm still doing strength and conditioning. For me, we have to do so much. So I do 2 MMA days. I do 2 jiu-jitsu days, 2 wrestling days, and 2 kickboxing or just drilling days, And I still do my cardio, not obviously as intense, but I do a cardio. So my training really doesn't change too much, and I feel like that's what helps me being able to take these fights. I feel like the more time you take off from the sport, the harder it is to get back in there without getting injured. Because I know guys from the past are like fight, disappear for a month or 2, and then come in. Hey, I got a fight offer, and then come in and train the first week, and they're beat up and can't go for the next day. So for me, I think that's the biggest key.
And I feel like in the past few years or so, you hear that a lot more from fighters, that it's that subtraction on the amount of sparring. You see some gyms and some camps, it seems like guys go 100% all the time. Do you feel that that's maybe the key to longevity, is reducing some of that unnecessary damage or maybe head trauma that you would take if you sparred more often?
Yeah, everybody's different though. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. People talk about oh, this works for me. This works. Every person's different. I know guys that like to spar all the time. I know guys that do no technique and just go live the whole time. Everybody's different. Everybody has their thing. For me, I've wrestled for so long and stuff like that. I don't feel like I need all that wear and tear on my body all the time. I've been wrestling since I was 10 years old, and wrestled at a good high school where we traveled all around out of Lemoore High. We traveled, from Virginia Beach up to Oregon, all over. Competed a little bit, at the international level a little bit here and there. But just doing all that, like I don't feel like I need too much more wear and tear on my body. So that's kind of the thing I had to change as well. Like just kind of listening to my body, I guess. Trying to be one with my body, I guess.
Best of luck on Saturday.
Thanks, man.
You mentioned earlier that the fight with Matheus would be a grind. Do you think your background in wrestling will present unique challenges for him as the fight continues to be a grind?
I think so. I think a lot of people now in MMA don't wrestle. Like, I go out to Gold Rush Wrestling Club when I'm in Vegas out here, and I'm wrestling with high school kids. Yeah, they might not be D1 athletes yet. You know what I mean? They might not be college wrestlers yet, but these kids do this on a daily. And I'm out there, and I go out there and compete with these guys. I'm out there wrestling, talking smack with these guys, and like I still wrestle. So I feel like that's why my wrestling still, like I'm not a Division I wrestler. Like if you look at my accolades in wrestling, like compared to some of these other guys that we've had in here, like Henry Cejudo and guys like that, I never won a state title. I never even placed at the state tournament. And junior college in California, we don't travel outside the state of California. We have the same 20-some schools. So the reason why my wrestling is so good is because I'm still wrestling twice a week, no matter what, in or out of camp. So for me, I think that helps me a lot because people don't expect the transitions to be certain ways. Everybody MMA wrestles, and the thing I bring different is like, hey, I MMA wrestle, but I also bring a lot of traditional wrestling into my camps. Like for the last camp with Makai, like people were like, oh, like you're actually a good wrestler. Like, yeah, shit. Like I've done it for so long, but I also continue to wrestle all the time. Like I'm not a guy that doesn't do it, so I think it'll bring a lot of challenges for him.
And I'm also familiar with your coaching work at Syndicate for wrestling. Do you think coaching kind of brings you a unique aspect to wrestling itself?
Yeah, so I started coaching back when I was in I think I was like a freshman in high school. We did it for our Farm Boys Club. Like my coach, Kent Olson, used to have a Farm Boys Club, like little feeder program into our high school and junior high. So I started coaching those guys at a young age. And it helped me, like, hey, show technique. And be like, oh, well, this is where I'm messing up. I'm messing up as an individual, but I'm showing these guys. So it kind of helps me, make sure the technique's right and everything. I think it does give you a different little aspect to things. And I think it's helped me all the way through from wrestling all the way up to MMA.
And you said you were acquaintances with Matheus. You didn't show him any special wrestling tricks while you knew him.
No, we never trained together. Like he's been over to my house. Like I said, one of my roommates is really good friends with them, stuff like that. He's Matheus Nakash. Actually, he's the one that we cornered together with Cody, and we hang out all the time. We train together, So it's like small worlds. MMA is a small community, and it is what it is. But yeah, like he's a super great, nice guy, man. I actually like him and his wife, and everybody I know in Muñoz, they've always been super nice to me. So like I said, respect to them and their camp. Like I said, I'm just excited to see what we got Saturday.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, guys.